Good afternoon. This is Jennifer Wilson. Welcome to Leadership Lunch Chat with my good friend Amy Vetter.
Hello.
Hi. Happy holiday weekend. It'll be interesting to see if we have anybody working. Or maybe they'll come here because they're not.
Exactly.
2 weeks before the July 15th deadline, maybe there are a lot of people working.
Yes.
Well, so any big plans for the holiday?
Yeah, I have a good weekend planned with friends and family. So looking forward to, I think we kind of started talking about it just, with everything that's gone on in the last few months. I think there's a little bit of burnout and ready to just take some time off and not feel bad about being burned out and kind of leaning into the burnout rather than trying to back away from it, which is my natural inclination as a type A personality to be like, oh, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So versus denying it, embrace the burnout and rest and take a break. I just did that a little bit. I just I did a road trip with my family this week, and we took 5 days, the five of us, my husband and three daughters, and went to a cabin in Minnesota, and but cabin with granite countertops.
That's as rustic as you get.
Yeah, I was going to say my idea of camping is a Hilton Garden Inn, but anyway, but pretty isolated. With COVID-19, we're totally freaked out and scared, and so we still, we didn't eat in restaurants, and we bought groceries and cooked and ate to go in our our cabin, and did a little bit of boating and just tried to, take a break from our lives and take a break from living in our house all the time.
Yes.
Like a different form of isolation, or go to a different place to isolate. It was scary though, how few people were wearing masks along our journey. And how you could see that there was a whole part of the population that is either unafraid of COVID-19 or unaware of it, or something, but we continue to be diligent about the virus, and it's hard to completely vacation when you're like that.
Yeah, there's still a lot. I think, and I think this is important too, going back into the workplace. But when the mask is on and when you're separated, it still gives you that feeling that you're not really fully connecting or fully being comfortable. And I had band practice last night, and we were our first one in person, and they had us in spots all socially distant. And then when it wasn't our time to play, we had to sit in our assigned chair. So it was so great to play in person, but there was something very divisive about it as well, where you're just like, this is exhausting. So when we talk about burnout, it's not even just all of the, stuff we have to do to keep the lights on, but it's also just the exhaustion of even trying to connect. We're humans at the end of the day. And I think it's such an important lesson that I hope everyone remembers, because for so long people have been so afraid of technology that it was going to take their jobs and so forth. And if anything has proven how important human connection is, it's been this. I mean, more and more technology is being used, but there's more and more need to connect. We are human, we are animal.
Yeah.
We have that primal need to.
We need our pack.
Yes.
We need to be with our pack.
Yes.
Yeah, I get you, and maybe that appreciation for all of that connection when we get it back.
Yeah.
In the meantime, just there's a tremendous amount of overhead worrying about staying healthy, and who's not working on staying healthy and things like that, and tons of news and negativity. I think I said to you, I have a little guilt, because one of the things I wanted to do this week was just take a break a little bit from the stream, the news stream and just, all that's going on, and not just my own work stream, but my, the world news stream, really. And I feel bad because I want to continue to be an advocate and not be one of those people that's burying their heads, and there are lots of people suffering, and yet, that overhead starts to wear you out, and it's tough.
Well, and I think a really important thing from a mindfulness perspective is that you can't worry what other people are doing. I think it only makes it just combusts with people judging others. Everyone's got to make their own decision at the end of the day of how they live their life, what kind of risk tolerance they have. And, when we add on that stress of watching others and judging others, no matter what it is, it just creates more tension in our bodies. And when we feel that happening, I think it's really important to observe what's happening for us internally, so that we're like, is this something I can control? And if I can't control it, release it and keep moving. And so it's a practice, but it's a really important thing because we create so much unnecessary stress and illness in our bodies because we don't focus just on our own wellness and well-being.
Yeah. Well, and part of my take a break is running or, paddling or yoga or something like that, right, where I'm able to release a whole bunch of stuff at once. But there is this fine line between, like, I don't want to judge, but I do want to advocate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not going to be like, I can't make a difference. I may not be able to control it.
Right.
But I can possibly make a difference through individual effort. And what are those efforts that I could take? One of my plans for this weekend is to, on the 4th of July, here in Omaha, my niece Kaya is part of a group called The Change of Omaha that really came out of this whole Black Lives Matter, injustice focus that we have right now. And she started a group, and they've been cleaning up certain areas of the city and, really trying to be a group for good. And they're going to have a rally to get the vote out on Independence Day tomorrow. And my family's going to go, and I want to go, and I want to be in there in support of what she and her group are doing. And I hope there's a big crowd, and yet, I hope they're all wearing masks. It's like, I want to do my thing, but then I'm also like, oh gosh, there's this other undercurrent of something that might ruin our society called the virus. So, we have a virus called racism, and what are you going to do about it individually?
Yeah.
And then it's not just racism, but it's just overall prejudice against anybody who's different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important we lead by example as much as we can, and that's a sense of advocacy. There was, so I have 2 children. One is really into the environment. And one of his songs that he always held on to was Man in the Mirror from Michael Jackson, that it all begins with us. And we think that we're not making an impact, but when each one of us shows an example of compassion and acceptance, it starts permeating, without having to fight about it. Everyone has to make their own decisions in their life, but it starts standing out when you're racist or prejudiced or whatever issues you have, when all the people around you are not accepting of that way of life.
Yeah, well, and yesterday, driving the 8.5 hours home, I got to ride in the car, and instead of using my laptop and working, which is a normal thing I would do, I read a book, and the book was all about loggerhead sea turtles, and how they've been endangered. They're coming back pretty good, but the whole microplastics thing, and that the author's main message was, you can make an individual. You may not be able to stop plastic,
Right.
And the pollution of plastic at the macro level, but how are you using it at your house?
Yeah.
How many plastic water bottles are you drinking out of? And I had never really heard about microplastic. So, reading about the little teeny pieces of plastic that are in the ocean, that was freaky. And in all the animals now, and in us, because we're eating those animals.
Well, COVID-19 has brought all that stuff back. So it's driving my son crazy. He actually did a TED Talk at the end of last year at his high school, and we worked on it together. It was all about the things you can do in your daily life to make an impact, that everyone thinks it's too big of a problem. But what's happened with COVID-19, because of everyone worrying about germs, we're all back to single-use plastics and like all this stuff again. So we had gotten made so much progress, and so it's one of those things of figuring out how to still protect the environment as this is happening.
Well, and so circling back to burnout, because you could super easily fixate, you know what I mean? You could go in a little circle and I've done tons of writing on positivity and, the power of the internal decision to say, I will be unstoppable. We will solve these problems. Let's take these one at a time. Where can I make a difference? How can I make a positive impact? And I think it comes down to that at the end of the day, you could get nuts, over focusing on all the stuff that might not be going right. And maybe this is a good place to stop and count your blessings, focus on what is working. Like, for instance, that because of the turtle ladies who've been, patrolling the beaches of South Carolina and North Carolina and Florida and Georgia, and protecting these nests, that now there are more nests than ever before and more eggs hatching and stuff. How do you get positive? How do you at least take a second and focus on some of that to balance out some of this, we have a few issues to deal with in this country.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's taking the moments of looking for the unsung celebrations or, things that are, that just hit you in the heart. So this week, I had made a post about my other son. And, we never know what's going on in people's lives, but throughout this, I don't know, the last 8 months, I've been going through a divorce. And during the middle of that, my son came to me and told me he was gay, my younger son. And I was so proud of his courage of coming out. But one of the most important things that happened during that was the acceptance and love that happened around him from a number of his friends. And there's been many months I've stepped back and gone, wow, had they not reacted the way that they did, because he obviously told them before he told me, how could this have gone differently? How lucky are we that we live in this day and age that these kids just don't see things in the world. We're trying to battle as older adults, prejudice and so forth, but that is just not how these children have grown up. They've grown up with so much compassion and acceptance. There's always going to be the bad apples, and there's certainly ones that have come and hit, but these friends of his have surrounded him like a pack of wolves, and anyone that said anything. And they planned a whole pride party for him last week, this week actually. And the thought and celebration and happiness that happened, I took a picture of all of them, kind of captured the moment, and it was it took everything to not cry, thinking about what these girls had done for him.
Yeah.
and that's what I'm talking about, little moments of example.
Yes.
That, they, in their mind, weren't doing anything amazing, but it was amazing. It was so much courage. It was true friendship. And then they came together and showed true friendship and support. And I shared the story, and then I couldn't believe the amount of people that came out with supportive comments, and it's just been overwhelming.
Yes.
And it's just, so in these times where we have so many negative things, we have to take a moment and look, even if you just look at the post and go, there are a lot of good people in this world.
Yes.
And we focus on the negative because we have to create change many times, but we also have to celebrate the good moments to show how far we've come. And if there was ever anything for a 15-year-old boy to feel safe and secure and loved and not hide who he was, because so many gay and lesbians and the whole faction of that have hidden that, have committed suicide, have self-harmed because they were afraid to tell anyone.
Right.
So I do want to celebrate the good, because I saw it this week, and it was just in those little moments, big, really big.
Huge. And, I think that that's an awesome point, first of all. Second, I stand in support with your son, 100%. And you are who you are. You are who you were born to be. For him to be able to embrace that at this age is amazing. And, not have to hide it. And it is a scary thing to be different and to say I'm different and to stand apart. But he's not different from all the other, a gay and lesbian and all of his, he has his pack of girls. We came back to the wolf pack. He has you and your family. He also has this whole new community that he's joining. And that community is powerful and strong, and has a voice, and was reaffirmed recently by our judicial branch, our checks and balances. Our world is changing to the better, to the acceptance, to the love and acceptance of others. And I have so much hope in our next generation. It's one of the reasons that I spent most of the last, maybe 15 years trying to be a voice for the next generation, because I believe that they are going to take us someplace really special and fantastic. I think their innovation, I think their lack of attachment to the past, their acceptance of others, acceptance of technology, love of efficiency, and the desire to have, to work hard but play hard. I think all of those things are going to show up as a much better world pretty soon when they have more power and control. And every single day they're getting a little bit more, which is exciting. But that acceptance that you're seeing from that group of kids, those people are going to show up someday in our government, and I feel so encouraged about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think another big key thing for me is I have a very good friend that's gay, and he was on my podcast, told this fantastic story of his parents actually making him come out. It's the most fantastic story I've ever heard. But anyways, I spoke to him this week about it, and he had such a good perspective around, when you are who you are and you come out, whether it's gay or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's time to be curious. So that's just the moment of change. And then it's what's the journey from here? What does this feel like? What does this look like? Be curious about, different areas of your life, and not make it a definition. And I think it's so important, even when we talk about change and acceptance, and this generation of, being willing to take on technology or whatever else comes our way, this aspect of being curious is something for adults to learn from, right? Like of people that have been in their careers 20, 30, 40 years, or have been maybe held fast to beliefs that they don't even know why they have them. It's just inborn in them. And that's the time to be curious and go, why? Let's question it. Let's question everything right now. And you've been going through that process, and talked very openly about it. But that aspect of curiosity is what can open up and create so much more change than we could have ever imagined.
Yes, and it's curiosity and flexibility, because life as we know it, life as we knew it before 2020 is gone.
Yes.
It will never be the same after this virus, after this uprising and demand for equality and safety and security and justice. We're never going to have the same type of environment or country or lifestyle or work life ever again. And so we all have to be flexible and curious, both. And I'm excited about it. I mean, you and I both are change agents, so we come from that place called, what would it be like if we could change a bunch of things? I don't think we thought we would change everything, but almost everything has changed. And so how can we embrace that? How can we integrate it? How can we let go of the past? I think, you talked about releasing judgment. I think we also have to release the past. Mm-hmm. We have to let go of the way it was in the old normal and go to that next better we've talked about before. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about the future, and yet we also have to take care of ourselves while we're navigating all this incredible change. And I'm excited for your son, and I'm encouraged that both of them are so brave and courageous in their convictions, kind of like their mama. The acorn doesn't fall far from whatever that saying is.
I don't know where they got it from.
Yeah, no, I know. It's crazy. So, Amy, I so appreciate these Fridays and the opportunity to process what's happening in my life and my work and our world with you. I know we're coming to time, so I wonder if you have any last words for our crew before we sign off.
I think it's just that, this is like, take the weekend off, enjoy yourself. We can't control every moment. So, give yourself grace. And if you're feeling tired, go to bed.
Yeah. or at least lay in bed and stream Netflix.
Exactly.
And let's all just give a lot of thanks and gratitude for this incredible country we live in.
Yes.
On this holiday weekend, even though it's got a lot of flaws, we certainly have.
We can all speak up.
Yeah, we have the freedom to talk about them.
That's right. Yeah.
Figure out our place in them. So have a great holiday weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Friday. Thanks.
Happy 4th.
Yeah.